Greetings, YouTubians, and welcome back to Wayne Sharp World, where today we are going to be taking a look at the latest creation from Vosteed Knives, which happens to be none other than the Vosteed Labrador. Now, before I go any further into this review, I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in today. If you'd like me to see, please do me a huge favor, hit that subscribe button, follow along, and I will continue to bring you the content. Now, let's take a look at some overall specs on this knife right here. We have an overall length of 8.73 inches, a blade length coming in at 3.74 inches, so a rather big knife. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe this is the biggest knife yet to come from Vosteed. We have a blade thickness of 118 thousandths with a blade material of good old tried and true 154 cm and a drop point style blade with a full flat grind, a handle length coming in at 4.99 inches with a handle width at 1.11 inches, right around here at the swell of the palm area, with a handle material of micarta, a liner lock, a right hand only tip up carry, a weight coming in at 3.44 ounces, which is not too bad for this big of a knife, and a price coming in at $84. So yeah, pretty good on the price tag there. I got no issues with that. 84 bucks for a good sized knife with pretty substantial feel for just what we have here. It's pretty darn nice. Let's take a look at some size comparisons. Compare it with some other Vosteeds to give you an example of or an idea of just what type of length we're working with. We have the Vosteed Thunderbird, which is a pretty good sized knife in its own right, and as you can see, considerably shorter. And another very popular model here, this is the Vosteed Raccoon, and yeah, another one considerably shorter. So as you can see, this is a nice size knife. It's a longer knife. Now, if you've never handled Vosteed and you're looking to get in and try one of them out, maybe you are more into Kaiser, where we can bring in a couple. Here we have the Kaiser Begleiter, which is very much a medium-sized knife. As you can see, it's still relatively short in comparison to the Labrador. And you have to get all the way up into something like the Kaiser Begleiter XL, which is a big knife, to really kind of rival the size there. And as you can see, even the Begleiter XL is really not much longer at all. Maybe a quarter of an inch at the most. Very, very similar in overall length to the Begleiter. The Begleiter XL does have a slight bit more of edge there at the bottom, as you can see. But other than that, very close to the Begleiter XL, which is rather impressive because it is a big knife and a pretty darn good one. So now as we get into this and take a look at it in a Wayne Sharp World style, starting with the blade here, this is a really good looking blade. It's nothing crazy different or unique. It's just your good typical drop point blade. Kind of reminds me of something like a combination of the CJRB, what am I thinking of now? I lost it. But anyway, it is a good drop point style blade. Nice amount of belly. We're coming in around 18 thousandths in the edge right around here. Of course, nice standard thickness. Very nice jimping. In the full flat grind, it's really hard to beat a full flat grind. The only thing, in my opinion, that can really rival a good full flat grind like this is something like a nice deep hollow grind, which is on a nice wide blade that can be pretty slicey. But this is some really good cutting geometry and just a very nice blade overall with a lot of cutting edge. Good tip, nice choil down here at the bottom of the blade. A lot of good things going on. I tell you what, when you get this guy in hand, and you don't have to be using that choil, even right here, the ergos on this guy are really, really good, whether you're using the choil or not, because the contoured micarta just works really, really well. And really the only thing that would maybe make the ergos on this knife a little better for me would maybe be a little more width in the handle. I'm not saying it's too slender, but it is somewhat of a more slender knife. It reminds me of one of the Giant Mouse Ace knives. I can't think of it. A lot of you can probably think of the name of it just by looking at this and kind of going off that. I can't remember. It's a Giant Mouse Ace lineup. But there's just too many knives right now, and the names, they all have names, and yeah, but if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. But it does feel really good in hand, and really I do think the choil is kind of the sweet spot for me. because you can kind of pull your index finger back. You're well away from the blade. And the choil is really, the choil fits perfect for my finger. I really, really do enjoy this choil. And I kind of run out of jimping up top. I wish they would have continued the jimping here up maybe past the thumb stud a little. That's really about the only thing that could make this blade better. And another thing that I really love about this blade, it's purely aesthetic, but I think a lot of people would agree with me. You know, I love a good sterile blade. And for me, in my opinion, you know, if you can keep the branding all the way down here and just keep everything off the grind of the blade, even though I'm getting this all smudgy and all nasty looking, we'll give it a little wipe here. If you can keep that blade branding down under, kind of just above the handle, I really like that. I would actually, you know, I would like to see that just become a standard in the knife industry. It makes the blades look so much better, especially on this side too. They really nailed this. This is I will say another thing for this knife is it came well oiled. It almost reminded me of like Tucson. Significant amount of oil on it, which isn't a bad thing. I can't say I love it, but it's definitely better than not having any oil and being dry, and you know, it opens up to like, you know, all sorts of issues. But a lot of oil on this guy, still kind of wiping it down. I haven't fully disassembled it yet. But yeah, this blade branding, I love it. Vosteed, steel, knife name. This is just good. You know, I would take this pretty much any day out of the week, this style of blade branding, as opposed to, you know, boom right there and all up there along the top of the blade. It's just a much cleaner presentation to me, and I really, really do appreciate that. You know, aesthetics are important for me on my knives. I like them to look good, and this one looks damn good. In terms of the rest of the ergos and handle on this guy, the micarta's good. This is obviously black micarta, and really do like this copper pivot here. I believe it's copper. It's either copper or dark brass. I'm almost positive that's copper. It sure looks like it. But it looks really good. Gives it a nice little highlight up there around the pivot area, and you have a nice looking pivot. I really do like the pivots Vosteed uses. They're different. They're not branded, but they have a little design going on, and they just look good. You have really nice access to the liner lock with a little bit of kind of like a, I don't know if I wouldn't maybe not call that jimping, but some type of texturing there to help your thumb get to it. The only thing that I don't love about this handle is the clip again. And I'm starting to wonder if I'm starting to think that I may not just be a big fan of this clip. Again, this is a clip that it really does feel good in hand, though. You know, some of the problems I have with Civivi's clips, I feel like they don't feel good in hand and they don't look good. I think this one looks okay. I like how low profile it is. But for the way this knife functions, for all the deployment options, it really hinders one of them. And we'll touch on that here in a second. But I will say from an ergonomic standpoint, the low profile of the clip feels very good. And it's almost like it's not even there. It's a very, very good in the hand. And it does go work well in the pocket. It's kind of, you know, it's set up a little high. It's a few things that I don't quite love. But it is what it is, and it's there. So had to talk about it. And going into the action on this guy, action is buttery smooth. It really is. It is incredibly smooth, whether you're middle finger flicking it with the thumb studs. As you saw, I already thumb deployed it, and the regular flipper is just as good. I gotta say, especially the thumb flick on this, the knife feels well balanced. It's very, very easy to kick that blade out, and it doesn't have to take, you know, a big break of the detent. It's just kind of a friendly little push of the thumb studs, and the blade flies out, and it's very smooth, and it's very good. Same for the flipper. My issue with it is the front flipper, and you guys know I love a good front flipper, and it's a smooth front flipper. I don't have any issues with the smoothness or any of that. It's really more along the lines of kind of like an awkward feel in the hand when I'm front flipping it, because the clip, I'm not really getting to hold on to the clip. I'm more holding on to the edge of the handle here. And then you have to be very mindful of the flipper, because if you have your hand too far up and you go to front flip it, the flipper will catch your finger. So the front flip can get a little kind of gummy. But again, it does work. You just have to know how to do it. And I feel like the standard front flip on this takes a little too much thinking. You know, when I deploy a knife, I want it to be very intuitive, very natural. I don't want to have to think too much. I want to take it out of my pocket, boom, pop it out. Now, obviously, I'm talking about the knife, I'm looking at it, I'm thinking about it as I'm doing it. So as I'm doing this, you know, it does look pretty natural, but I don't want to have to, you know, get it out of my pocket and then happen to have it in my hand too far up like this, and then go to deploy it and it slows down by the flipper hitting my finger. It does work really well for the reach around. The detent is really dialed in on this. So whether you are middle finger flicking it or thumb flicking it or flipping it doesn't really matter. The detent is good for all that. And it is also good for the front flip as well as the reach around. So there's no detent issues. There's no real action or feel issues. The only issue I have with any form of deployment is that front flip and just having to think too much, a little too much on the regular front flip. But again, it is still doable. So take that for what it's worth. But overall, what this is here is a really good knife. It's another very solid offering from Vosteed. If it wasn't for that little issue with the front flipper and just having to, you know, not feel quite as effortless and fluent as some other front flippers, I would say this is an absolute home run. It's still, even though it may not be a true full out of the park home run, it's still a damn good knife. It's still one that I really, really like. And I think for 84 bucks, it's hard to really argue the price. It's a nice, solid handle. You know, there's very, very little flex in the handle. It feels good in hand. It's contoured. The action's good. The aesthetics are good. Vosteed's they're really coming on here. This could be another very big year for them. I feel like they really built a name for themselves last year. And if they have a lot more releases like this and a couple more that I'm going to be bringing to you guys, I think within the next couple weeks, could be a very, very good big year for Vosteed. So I'm excited to see where it goes for them. Let me know what you guys think of this. If this is one you were planning on ordering, it is in stock right now. You can go get this guy. I'll have multiple links below, whether it be Amazon or their website. They're available. And for 84 bucks, yeah, there's not much telling me not to pull the trigger on this. Really good offering from Vosteed. The Labrador, guys, let me know what you think of this one. Really hope you enjoyed this. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And until the next one, I'm out.